Hey there and welcome. Today we're going to talk about solving one-step equations. So let's get started. So the first part of our lesson today is defining the word inverse. And inverse really just means opposite. So if I ask for what the inverse of addition is, you would say subtraction, which means that the inverse of subtraction is also addition. The inverse of multiplication is division, and the inverse of division is multiplication. So as you can see here, it's all written out. Go ahead and pause it if you need to. Otherwise, let's keep going. So let's actually solve some problems. And we need to realize that the whole point of solving these problems is to get our variable all by itself. That is our main goal, is to get that all by itself. And I can see right now, I take this problem and I just draw a line down my equal sign, that on the same side of that line, I have a plus 7 right here. So I need to do the inverse, the opposite of that plus 7, to get rid of it. So the inverse of plus, we said, was subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 7. And if I do it to one side of this line, I have to do it to the other to keep my equation balanced. I'm going to draw this little equal bar here. Now, I didn't do anything to my variable, so I'm just going to bring that straight down. Positive 7 minus 7 gives me 0. That's the whole point, is that those two things eliminate. I'm going to bring down my equal sign, and I have 2 minus 7, which gives me negative 5. So now that I have an answer, I can see right here that my variable is all by itself on one side of that equal sign, and it's positive. Now, the number we got was not positive, and that's okay, but my actual variable is positive. And I'll show you what the difference looks like in a different video. But what's really amazing about one-step equations, and two-step equations for that matter, is that you can actually see if you got the answer right without having to ask your teacher. It's called a check. Here's how it works. You take your original problem, so we have x plus 7 equals 2, and we are going to substitute the answer that we got for x in for the actual variable in the problem. So that negative 5 is just going to replace that x right there. So I'm going to have negative 5 plus 7 equals 2. Now, at this moment, I don't care about this side at all. I don't care what that is. I need to do the actual math on the left-hand side. I need to do negative 5 plus 7. So if I have 5 villains and I add 7 heroes, my heroes are going to win with 2 left over. And now that I've done the math there, I can bring that part back. Equals 2. 2 does in fact equal 2. So I've checked it, it's good. And I now know that x equals negative 5 is the correct answer. Now let's just say that we got that x was positive 5, just for sake of trying it out. So, let's pretend I could spell. We'll do our check over here, but instead this time we said that x was positive 5. So I'm going to say positive 5 plus 7 equals 2. Again, I don't care about what's over there right now. I need to actually do the math on the left-hand side. 5 plus 7 gives me 12. Now I can bring this number straight down. And I see 12 equals 2, and that's not true, which means that 5 is not the correct answer. You need to get the same number on both sides, and that's how you know. All right, so that was our first problem. Let's go look at a different one. So this time I have y minus 3 equals 9. And if it helps you, draw that line going down the equal sign to keep your two sides of the problem separate. And I'm going to identify my variable as that y right there, which is what I want to be all by itself. Right now it's not. So I need to do the inverse of this minus 3, which is going to be to add 3. So I'm going to plus 3 over here. I'm going to plus 3 over here, because remember, whatever we do to one side of that equal sign, we have to do to the other. I didn't do anything to my variable, so I'm just going to bring that straight down. -3 plus 3 is 0. So those eliminate. Bring down that equal sign. Then I have 9 plus 3, which is 12. Now, instead of just saying that we're good to go and moving on, check that, make sure that we're good. So we've got our check, and we're going to say that y minus 3 equals 9. I always like to rewrite the original problem just so that I'm less likely to mess it up. We're going to take that y and replace it with the 12 that we got as our answer. So I say 12 minus 3 equals 9. Again, right now, I don't care about that side. I need to do the actual math. So 12 minus 3 is 9 equals, now I'll bring that part back, 9. 9 does in fact equal 9. So y equals 12 is my solution. Please remember, this portion right here is not your solution. It's to check to make sure that the answer that you got is actually correct. So don't say 9 equals 9 and call it a day. That's not your answer. That's just your check. Y equals 12. That's the answer. That's our solution. That's what makes this a true statement. All right, so let's move on to that next problem. This time I have 4a equals 8. And again, I'm going to start with drawing that line straight down the middle. Keep my sides balanced. And the hardest part here is figuring out what operation this actually is. And I don't see a plus sign, so I'm not adding. I don't see a minus sign, so it's not subtraction. I don't see a division bar, so it's not division, which means that this actually has to be multiplication. So the only way to undo multiplication is to divide. And I'm going to divide both sides by the number that I'm multiplying by. So I'm multiplying by 4, so the opposite, the inverse, is to divide both sides by 4. Now, I have 4 times a divided by 4. And the rules of math say that if I'm doing all multiplication up top, I can do the division on the bottom without having to worry about anything else that's going on up top. So I really have 4 divided by 4, which we know is just 1, times a. And if you wanted to, you could leave it as 1a, and it's not wrong because it's 1 times a, which we know is a. But in reality, you're not really going to see 1a written anywhere. We just don't do it. It's not necessary. Bring down that equal sign, and I have 8 divided by 4, which is 2. So now, we got to do our fancy check. And again, I'm going to start with my original problem. And then I'm going to take my answer and I'm going to replace it. I'm going to substitute it into the original problem for my variable. And I'm going to do that math. Now, what a lot of people do is they just stick those things together and they say 42 equals 8. But let's remember that earlier we said this was multiplication. So this is really 4 times 2 equals 8. Remember, I don't care what this side equals right now. I don't care. I need to do the actual math first to make sure that it balances out. 4 times 2 gives me 8. So I have 8 equals, now I can bring that side back, 8. 8 does in fact equal 8. So a equals 2 is my final answer. All right, and here is our last problem for today. B over 5 equals 60. Now again, I'm going to start with that line going down the middle just to help keep everything balanced. And I need to realize that this bar right here does in fact mean division. So I am dividing on this problem. So because I am dividing, I need to do the inverse, the opposite of that, which is multiplication. And so I'm going to take this side and multiply it, take this side and multiply it, and the number I'm multiplying it by is the number that I'm dividing by. So it says b divided by 5. So I need to multiply both sides by 5, because remember, our main goal is to get that b all by itself. So similar to our problem up here, where we had 4a divided by 4, we now have 5b divided by 5. And so we can do 5 divided by 5, which is just a fancy version of 1. So over here I'm just left with b equals, or 1b if you so prefer. And now I need to do 60 times 5, which is 120. I don't know where I got 120 from. No, it's not. B is 300. So now I need to take that check. I need to check my work, see if I'm good. So again, I'm going to rewrite my original problem. So b over 5 equals 60. I'm going to take my number that I got as my solution, and I'm going to plug it back in. So I have 300 divided by 5 equals 60. Again, I don't care what this side says right now. I don't care. I need to do 300 divided by 5, which is 60, equals, now I'm going to bring this number back and bring it straight down. Because 60 equals 60, b does in fact equal 300, and I'm good to go. So for today, we learned how to solve one-step equations. It's called that because it takes exactly 1 step to solve them. As you can see that we've done those for all 4 of these problems. So that's it for this time. Until next time, I'll see you later. Love you, bye.